We're just over 3 weeks from Election Day. The big question, will we see a blue wave or a red tide? A new poll shows is planning to head to the polls in 23 days. 77% say they'll cast ballots this year. That's up from 65% 4 years ago. Back with me, two radio hosts who are getting the pulse of both parties, Joe Madison of Sirius XM and Hugh Hewitt of Salem Radio Network, and Christina Greer, Associate Professor of Political Science at Fordham University. Joe, what are you hearing from your listeners in terms of are they enthused to vote, and what are they excited or concerned about?
Well, they're not only enthusiastic about voting, more so than I've seen in the last 2 years, but quite honestly, they're angry. You know, it's interesting, and this is a true story. You know, with Sirius XM, we are unfiltered in a way, and I have a swear jar. And I've been going around the country speaking, and I know you can't swear, Reverend, but
my callers do swear from time to time.
And people are actually saying, you know, here's $1 for the swear jar. You can swear for me. I'm not making this up, but let me tell you what's happening. I've been speaking, for example, all over the country, Charlottesville. The theme is voting at the organization I spoke at. I went to Sacramento. A large crowd there. The theme was voting. Delaware County Community College, where we did a town hall with young people. Every young person in that auditorium was registered to vote. I was in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania yesterday, and the theme was voting, and it was a coalition of business people, labor, civil rights organizations, and everywhere I go, not only what I'm hearing on my show, but everywhere I go, people are saying, what are we going to do about this?
Yeah,
and
I'm getting
and that's
on
what's
the road
happening
a lot as well.
Yes.
But you, what are you getting on the air and moving around? You are not exactly talking to the same type of political audience that, or people whose politics are like Joe's show or my show. What are you hearing?
Well, the Venn diagram might be a little bit different. I was in Columbus on Friday night. I'll be in Tampa on this Thursday night. I'm going around the country to my affiliates for Salem. And I'm telling you, the Republicans are juice. Justice Kavanaugh turned the light back onto judges, and they are marching.
The Republicans are juiced?
They are juiced. And we got better candidates, too.
Because juice means something else in Brooklyn. I just want to be clear that you mean they're enthused.
Well, juice in Ohio means they're going to vote, and they're going to vote quickly. In Michigan right now, John James is debating Debbie Stabenow. John James is the African-American combat Apache helicopter pilot. He's a great candidate. Martha McSally, first female fighter pilot in American history. She's winning in Arizona. Josh Hawley is winning in Missouri. Rick Scott is winning in Florida. Heidi Heitkamp's basically given up in North Dakota, and Kevin Kramer's going to win up there. And Matt Rosendale might pull this off in Montana. The president's going there. You know, on the Senate map, Brett Kavanaugh did more good for Republicans, and if the Democrats are unhappy in 23 days, they can blame Dianne Feinstein, Cory Booker, and Sheldon Whitehouse for turning that into a circus and getting the Republicans focused again on judges.
Christina, wait a minute. We're going to Christina. Christina, you have looked at this, and you teach political science. Mm-hmm. We have seen, since Kavanaugh, both sides become more, it seems, excited about going to the polls. Mm-hmm. How does this now, in your opinion, go? Because most polls say that Democrats have a hard task to take the Senate, but they'll take the House. How do you read this?
That's a very strong probability. I mean, I have the privilege of teaching 18 to 21-year-olds every week. And what I'm seeing and hearing, and I know that that's college-educated students are somewhat of a different demographic, but they're also motivated by gun control as well. Keep in mind, they grew up in a generation where school shootings were commonplace. Right. That wasn't really the case when we were growing up. both sides are actually juiced by the Kavanaugh verdict, because my Democratic students and sort of different people I've talked to around the country, they are incensed that the separation of powers worked in this way, and they're feeling as though in this unified government era where we have a Republican president and a Republican Congress, and they're abdicating completely to the executive branch and putting in a highly partisan court. That is not the intention of the framers, and so they want to do something about that, not just on the House races, but on the Senate. I also think that when we look at turnout, if the blue wave doesn't come right now, keep in mind there are so many draconian registration laws. There are a lot of people who weren't registered by the time this Kavanaugh fervor reached their consciousness, right? And so there are a lot of people who didn't pay attention in the primaries as well. So they are looking at the composition of Congress and saying, you know what, these people actually don't represent me. So I think we might see some interesting things on the Democratic side when it comes to primaries in the next 2 years.
Joe, you wanted to jump in?
Well, I wanted to jump in. I'm from Ohio, and I don't know about Brooklyn, but when he said juice, I don't, that had a whole different meaning for me, too. But the reality is this. I think what we all can agree on, it's going to be a ground game. And that's what I'm hearing more than anything else. People are talking about organizing, and that's really, despite our predictions, because the reality is we really don't know. We hope. But I am telling you, it has to be the ground game, and that's what I'm sensing, and I'm just saying to you, the African American community, which is critical to the Democratic vote, they are, and I won't put a dollar in the swear jar, but they're angry. They are very angry, and I'm going to tell you, that show that Kanye West put on, oh my goodness.
I was trying to get through the night without going back there.
If Donald Trump,
I'm going to run out of time.
Okay.
Let me go to you on this and let you answer with the last word in this segment. I want to ask this question. Does Donald Trump help or hurt Republicans going out on the road? He's doing a lot of campaigning, but we're hearing that some people don't want him campaigning for them. I'm talking about Republicans.
I don't know anyone like that, Al. The president is absolute gold in Montana when he goes up there for Matt Rosendale, when he goes to Arizona for Martha McSally, when he goes to Nevada for Dean Heller. He gave some lift to Jim Renacci in Ohio over the weekend. I'm from Ohio as well. And by the way, everyone's got to recognize that 46 was with 45. Greatest running back of all time, Jim Brown, was also in the Oval with Kanye and the president. President is gold for a Republican generation of turnout.
But why doesn't he go over the bridge to Maryland and help out Larry Hogan? I just had his opponent on. I'm going to have to wrap it up. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, and thank you, Joe. I'm going to ask my minister friends in Brooklyn.